We're bringing a lot of things back, but religion is coming back to America. That's why you see the kind of numbers that you're seeing, the spirit and the kind of numbers that you're seeing. So, but I just want to wish everybody once again, happy Easter and enjoy your lives.
Look at the markets, which are very unwelcome on this Monday afternoon.
A sea of red, as I've been saying all morning. The Dow now off 944 points. That's about 2.5%.
At this point, you have to ask, does he know what's going on? Is he aware his administration is capitulating? Is he eating those crayons?
So what do you think it means for the economy now?
I think we're jumping into recession. You never just glide in. We're going into it right now.
What says Monday in the Trump administration like a seemingly sauced Pete Hegseth attacking reporters while his kids with what wife, actually? Oh, we don't know. Okay. Look on in sheer bewilderment.
This is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me, because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back in the hands of warfighters, and anonymous smears from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter. So I'm happy to be here at the Easter egg roll with my dad and my kids, because, this is what we're doing it for. These kids right here. This is why we're fighting the fake news media.
I'll tell you what. More market turmoil while the president continues to attack journalists and the Fed chair before then blaming said people he just attacked for the Dow plummeting over 1,000 points.
Are you bringing up Signal again? I thought they gave that up 2 weeks ago.
There was a new report this weekend that he used in a separate chat that included some family members.
It's all just the same old stuff from the media. That's an old one. Try finding something new.
US stock market started falling again today as Donald Trump continued attacks against the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, who the US president called, quote, a major loser for not lowering interest rate. Quote, there can be a slowing of the economy unless Mr. Too Late, a major loser, lowers interest rates now, capital letters. Meaning for those who don't speak, grifter, my economic policies are causing a recession, so can I please find someone else to blame? Now this comes as Trump amped up attacks against the Fed chair last week, pushing Powell to lower interest rates to offset the inflationary impacts of the new tariffs, which Trump implemented. He did this, but once bailed out as always. He's hell-bent on making America his 7th bankruptcy.
For 4 straight years, I fought for American workers like I would fight for my own family. I took care of our economy like I would take care of my own company.
Look at the markets, which are very unwelcome on this Monday afternoon. The Dow is down 1,270 points right now, so we're at session lows. And if we close here, it will be the 11th 1,000-point drop in the Dow's history, and it's the 4th this month. Now, the S&P broad market, here's what you need to know. Down 3% and down 16% from the 52-week high. We're about 200 points above the intraday low of 49.10 on April 8th. Keep these in mind as people look for a retest, and is that an entry point? The NASDAQ is the worst of the major averages, led lower by NVIDIA and Tesla. Tesla down 7% ahead of its earnings tomorrow. And of course, check the yield on the 10-year, because unlike most previous stock sell-offs, where you at least get some cushion here, nope, not getting it today. 440. This time treasuries are being sold as investors sell stocks as well. Dollars down, yields are higher.
Today, the Dow fell over 1,000 points, while the tech-heavy NASDAQ composite was over 3% down, and the S&P 500 fell 2.9%. And as we've seen recently, Powell, known to be extremely measured in his public remarks, spoke out about Trump's tariffs and warned that they may lead to a, quote, challenging scenario for the Fed.
The new administration is in the process of implementing substantial policy changes in 4 distinct areas: trade, immigration, fiscal policy, and regulation. These policies are still evolving, and their effects on the economy remain highly uncertain. As we learn more, we will continue to update our assessment. The level of tariff increases announced so far is significantly larger than anticipated, and the same is likely to be true of the economic effects, which will include higher inflation and slower growth. Both survey and market-based measures of near-term inflation expectations have moved up significantly, with survey participants pointing to tariffs.
Let me just agree that what comes back very strongly, and everyone will understand this, These are very fundamental changes in, long held in some cases policies in the United States. And there's not any real experience. I mean, the Smoot-Hawley tariffs were actually not this large, and they were 95 years ago. So there isn't a modern experience of how to think about this. And businesses and households are saying in surveys that they are experiencing incredibly high uncertainty. There's a lot of research, some of it from the Fed, showing that does lead to businesses and households stepping back from decisions, which of course makes common sense. And you hope that that's something that you go through a phase, and then you know what things become more certain, and therefore people can resume normal economic activities given their understanding of what is the new normal. I mean, your question really is, what if the uncertainty remains high? I think that's a difficult environment. I think people's expected rates of return would have to be higher. I think that would weigh on, to me, investment just in general. If the United States were to become a jurisdiction where risks are just structurally higher going forward, that would make us less attractive as a jurisdiction. We don't know that at this point, but I think that would be the effect.
Which resulted in even Trump's once trusted allies at Fox News speaking out against his handling over the economy.
A sea of red, as I've been saying all morning. The Dow now off 944 points. It's about 2.5%. That's about how much it lost last week, and today it's already doubled that amount. The S&P down 2.5%, and the NASDAQ down 2.8%. So in other words, it's a sell-off.
But to your point, Americans back the concept of a more level, fair trading field, but the execution of this, and I wanted to ask Daniel about this, the execution has been a morass. It's been an absolute chaotic mess so far, and the American people really haven't felt the pain of that yet. And is the pain based on talking to CEOs of companies that need these imports? Is the pain layoffs? Because that's what I'm hearing, that people are putting together layoff plans.
Absolutely. I see it. I hear about it. And even as a CEO of a company, we're thinking about it. Right now, we don't know what's going to happen because the game keeps changing.
And the crazy thing is, right, this isn't even the most absurd thing to happen today. As we know, Trump's Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, found himself entangled in yet another signal leak scandal. Yes, his second time sharing classified information, prompting further calls for his resignation.
Any security professional, military, government, or otherwise, would be fired on the spot for this type of conduct and criminally prosecuted for being so reckless with this kind of information.
A few years later.
We confirmed last night that Secretary Hegseth did have a second signal chat that included his brother, his wife, and his lawyer, in which he disclosed sensitive details about U.S. military operations against the Houthis in Yemen.
So, all in all, this should tell you everything about how things are going in the Trump administration. That a crashing economy is actually second string to the inner turmoil.
If Chairman Powell can be fired by the President of the United States, it will crash the markets in the United States. The infrastructure that keeps this stock market strong, and therefore a big part of our economy strong, and therefore a big part of the world economy strong, is the idea that the big pieces move independent of the politics, that somebody is making her best decisions economically and independently. We understand that if the New York Stock Exchange, if interest rates in the United States are subject to a president who just wants to wave his magic wand, this doesn't distinguish us then from any other two-bit dictatorship around the world where everyone knows what your big investment risk is. Will that dictator wake up in the morning and have a tummy ache and decide to cause this problem or favor that friend? That's why we need to strengthen the infrastructure.
Love this video? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch and help us blow past 1 million followers.